This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I'm your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Jeremy Moore. Jeremy works for Octagon, one of the largest sports marketing agencies in the world. He also played football at Georgetown and got his master's in sports administration from Columbia. Jeremy, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Angie.
Jeremy, will you talk a little bit about your background in football, when you started, and how you got to Georgetown?
Sounds great. So, from New Haven, Connecticut, where I played football at Hill House High School. I only played 2 years, but I was afforded the opportunity to play collegiately. So I attended Georgetown University on a full football scholarship, where I ended up making all-conference 3 years and also was an All-American.
You only played high school ball for 2 years?
Yeah, I only played high school football for 2 years.
That's
so
really uncommon.
Yeah, thought I was a basketball player, but then when you're 5'9", 150, and you don't grow, it's time to reevaluate your life, you know?
Very, very good point. So you played your junior and senior year and ended up getting a scholarship to Georgetown.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, worked out. God bless it, worked out.
What did you major in and why?
Yeah, so I've always been a business savvy kind of guy, so ended up majoring in management and marketing with a minor in entrepreneurship and theology. So I had the unfortunate situation of coming to Georgetown thinking I was going to major in finance, just, drink the Kool-Aid, go ahead and work on Wall Street, slave a little bit, make that money. But fortunately, my mentor told me to follow my passion. Ended up getting kind of bad grades in finance my first semester. Yeah, could have done a little bit better. But that actually redirected me and let me know that this is not the path that I should be taking. So I ended up creating Georgetown's first ever undergraduate sports organization called G.A.M.B.L.E, where I served as founder and VP of Sports Media and Entertainment. So G.A.M.B.L.E stands for Georgetown Aspiring Minority Business Leaders and Entrepreneurs Sports. So, we held resume cover letter workshops, mock interviews, a speaker series where we brought in different executives from various sports organizations within the market of DC to campus to speak to the students, networking opportunities. And this was basically an opportunity for the students to get firsthand experience in different cultures, as far as organizational culture with the job tracks that we're taking, and just being able to set themselves up for a job after Georgetown. One of those unknown facts is Georgetown was actually at the time the number 2 sports employment for after undergrad. But Princeton was number 1, but whatever, who cares? But and that's without having an undergraduate sports management major. That's without having any kind of avenue. So we were just utilizing our connections and making it in. So, I'm proud of the work that I've done and the legacy that I laid and everybody that worked with me to create this legacy. So, seeing all the professionals that we have in the workplace that attended the G.A.M.B.L.E sports meetings, and a lot of people that still actually reach back out to me years later, it's the fruits of my labor. It's humbling.
I'm really impressed that you were a student athlete and did so much outside of sports. How were you able to balance that?
Yeah, so that's always the age-old question. How do you prioritize your time? First and foremost, I think that it's easier than most people make it out to be, because once you understand what you want to do and you actually install that discipline. So I'm Jamaican, so that discipline was installed into me from a young age. So, once you figure out what you want to do, install that discipline into your daily habits, and then understand this is the small steps to make the long-term goal, you end up prioritizing and making short gains and short sacrifices in order for the larger picture.
So your goal and big vision wasn't the NFL?
It was the NFL, but everybody has that dream and that goal for the NFL. But one thing that everybody has to, and especially in this time, you have to be aware of is a plan B and plan C. So my plan B was to working. If I couldn't play in sports, I was going to work in sports. So the NFL didn't work out for me, but I padded my resume by working for the Washington Wizards, working for Nike, working for DC United, all in undergrad, in order to make it to that point where I can have a nice little resume behind me and then break into the sports industry.
It's really impressive what you said, because a lot of student athletes don't plan well for life after. I was one of those, like, it was all about ball, right? Like, nothing else really mattered. And basketball is one of those seasons that is never ending. You know, it's all year long. And so it sounds like you were really intentional about the organization, the brands that you wanted to align yourself with, and setting up a plan for when it was over.
Yeah, so one thing about that is, yes, I was intentional, but without mentors, I wouldn't even be where I am right now. So one of the most influential people in my life is a man named G.A.M.B.L.E. He was a former executive who created AOL Sports. Oh, wow. So, I mean, he basically took me underneath his wing, showed me the ropes, showed me how to become a professional. Because, you know, I came to Georgetown, you know, with the hat real low, white tee, you know, with the J's, you know, thinking I was gonna make it. No, I switched up my swag real quick and understood that, you know, in order to make it, yes, you have to be who you are, but you have to also understand how to work within your environment. So that was one of the best things that I've learned in becoming a young professional. So mentors is really key.
With your mentors, did you actively seek them, or did they see something in you and decided to offer to mentor you? Because I've seen it go both ways.
Excellent. Yeah, so once again, a great situation I fell into. So as a freshman, I heard about an event with different sports executives attending, but little did I know it was a senior-only event. In middle of the summer, I mean, it's 102 degrees outside. So I came in there with a suit and tie on, and I mean, I'm sweating from head to toe, trying to have the waves keep brushing it. You know, it was a lot going on. So he was basically saying, you know, you came in here with a suit and a tie, you can stay. But even though this is a senior-only event, everybody else was in, you know, loafers and boat shoes and shorts and T-shirts. And, I mean, I made a positive impression in front of him, and ever since then, I mean, he's been looking out because he understands that there's a certain ambition that he saw in me. And, I mean, you have to also know how to leverage that relationship. So, I mean, he could have just said, you know, I'll look out for you, but God doesn't help those who don't help themselves, to put it scripturally. So
you have to put in the work. You
got to put in the work yourself. You can't just rest on your laurels and rest on your connections. You have to utilize your connections, but you have to also put in the work.
So once you finished, you went on to Columbia and got your master's in sports management.
Yep.
Will you talk a little bit about how that work was a continuation and how you're using what you learned then with your work with Octagon?
Right. So after graduating, I picked up 2 part-time jobs with the Nationals and with the Wizards, both work together. So, but the problem is breaking into the sports industry, no matter what your resume is, it's very hard. It's all about perfect time. I mean, there's only a limited amount of sport jobs, which is with it also goes hand in hand with supply and demand. So, I had to work, but it wasn't working out the way I thought it would. But luckily, my connections enabled me to continue to work in the industry. So ended up getting an offer from the Wizards for ticket sales. But then I had another defining moment in my life where I basically thought to myself, ticket sales is not what I want to do long term. I didn't see myself crunching the numbers like that. I mean, it's for some people. It just wasn't for me. I'm more so of a corporate sponsorship sales kind of guy. So business development, doing the more larger contracts, networking, using my charismatic personality to meet with people, devising different events and campaigns to meet with a different brand's goal. That's more so what I thought I would be able to do. Because I'm all about relationships. I'm a relationship kind of guy, so I thought that would be an avenue for me to best use my skill set. So thought to myself, nah, let me turn this job offer down, and once again bet on myself. That's kind of my mantra in life right now, betting on myself. So went through Columbia sports management program where I majored in sports management with a concentration in marketing and finance. So utilized that brand to, the brand power of Columbia. Got an internship with the Madison Square Garden Company, where I was a team sales associate, which is basically corporate sponsorships, which is exactly what I wanted to do long term. And then just moved on from there within the sports industry. Went on to Premier Partnerships, which is one of the leading naming rights organizations in the nation. Learned that sphere of the corporate sponsorships world. And then now have all that skill sets in my tool belt for whenever I want to move on. Fell into a great situation where I was kind of jobless for 2 weeks. But then picked up another job. But luckily, to my merit, somebody at Octagon saw something in my resume for that. I mean, I didn't even apply to the job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't even apply to it. It was actually amazing. And so they ended up offering me an account trainee position, which is essentially an internship at Octagon. But it wasn't even with sports and entertainment. It was with B.M.W. So I was an account trainee managing B.M.W. I's, which is the all-electric vehicle, their national experiential marketing portfolio. So, I mean, it was once again my entry into the national scene of managing various regions, leveraging relationship with clients, and my clients are German, so the time difference and being able to manage time and setting deadlines and hitting those deadlines, it was all great skill sets that enabled me to get promoted. So, I mean, everybody knew that. My managers knew. Everybody else in the organization knew I was a sports guy. That's what I wanted to do. But, I mean, I paid my dues, and sometimes you just have to do that. You just have to take the time, pay your dues, attack everything with as much enthusiasm as you can. Yeah. And, I mean, no job is too small. I mean, be willing to get your hands dirty, figuratively and literally. So, yeah, thankfully, they saw my work ethic. They saw the quality of my work. I networked within the organization with different informational interviews for different positions in different companies within Octagon, and fell within Bank of America. So, I mean, blessed right now. Got my dream job, working where I want to work, and looking forward to continue to making a dent in the sports industry.
Will you talk about how you use what you've learned from playing sports in your day-to-day life and in your work?
Yeah, so once again, that's the discipline, that's the teamwork mentality. So employers love people that are on teams. I mean, you come in here with a skill set and a mindset that, everybody has their own job to do, and it's all important to accomplish the common goal. So with football, you have the quarterback, you have the wide receiver, you have the lineman. They all have to work in cohorts together in order to score a touchdown or get points on the board to win the game. Same thing like Octagon, same thing like any organization for that matter. You have your digital team, you have your CRM, you have the PR team, you have the marketing team, and they all have to work together in order to accomplish the client's main goal. So, I mean, being a team player, being a leader on the team, and just the competitive nature of wanting to be the best at whatever I did, that goes hand in hand in this perfect synergy with working with Octagon.
So one of the purposes of the Athletes as Educators podcast is to help current and former athletes know what industries are out there beyond playing sports.
Right.
Will you go a level deeper in regards to the work that you do?
Okay, so for me, I manage Bank of America's national sports marketing portfolio for MLB, NFL, and NBA. So basically, but more so primarily MLB with backhanded NBA, NFL, and college athletics. So day to day, it's working with the client, coming up with different creative, making sure that the vendors are hitting their deadlines for different aspects of our portfolio that we subcontract. Um, Basically, streamlining everything to the client. He yeses and knows things. We come up with a lot of creative, just making sure different taglines and the sponsor portfolio, different assets are fulfilled. So it's a day-to-day grind because it's the digital extensions, which is basically the internet, social media, which is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You have consumer interactive. You have your hospitality, which is in stadium for different employees and high-level clientele. You have consumer interactive, which is also in stadium, but anything that builds a positive brand recognition towards Bank of America. So it's a grind every day. Some days are slow. Some days are, you're up till 8 o'clock trying to get things done. But I love this environment. I love having a deadline and hitting it on time, and the sense of being fulfilled after the job is done.
Jeremy, let's go another level deeper. So you're in a stadium, and you work for Octagon, and Bank of America is one of the clients. What are you doing for Bank of America at a baseball game?
All right, so Bank of America is actually the league sponsor for the MLB. So we have different rights to activate in various stadiums. So we have, we're under the tagline, the MLB Memory Bank, which is the campaign. So within that campaign, we have the MLB Memory Vault this year, where we bring a big vault-like structure to one of our partner stadiums. And a partner stadium for us is any market where Bank of America wants a strong presence in. So you have New York, you have Boston, you have Houston, you have the Giants, San Francisco, you have Los Angeles, what have you. So we bring our big vault-like structure in stadium. The consumer comes up to us. We hire different brand ambassadors to interact with the consumers. They enter in their information strictly for purposes of the vault. Come around, record their favorite baseball memory, and we package it together so that they can share socially. But as an incentive, we give them an infinity card, which is basically a credit card-like card that, you can't really take money out of it, but And then you swipe it in front of the card reader, and then various for a chance to win a prize. So the different prizes include signed autograph baseballs and autographed jerseys, different novelty items, tickets to games, tickets to All-Star Game, tickets to World Series. So anything that creates a positive brand experience, that's what we do. So it's more so premium items.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you're doing in stadium. And when
that's what we do in stadium, yep.
And then when you're not in stadium, you are managing social media and web-based platforms.
Yep. Social media, creative for different signage that we have in stadiums. Because, you might have the behind home plate, you might have the outfield wall, you might have, the tunnel. So, but for MLB, mostly we have the cage. So if you look at the Yankees, if you look at the Red Sox, you'll see wherever the dugout is, you'll see Bank of America branding. So it might not say Bank of America, it might say Merrill Lynch, it might say U.S. Trust, but we manage that aspect. And then on the back end, we also do valuations and ROI to see how that signage is making a positive attribution, brand attribution to the Bank of America.
How is that determined? How is signage? I've always wondered that about marketing. So what's the correlation between the signage and the impact?
Right. So it's all about eyeballs. So how many people are watching the game? That's why a lot of our markets are big city markets. So kind of guaranteed eyeballs and impressions towards the said venue. But of course, there's other variables that affect, the ROI, which every company kind of figures it out a little differently. Yeah. So I can't get too deep into it.
I understand.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's all about eyeballs. What brand does the consumer see to make us first in mind whenever they want to make a purchase or a transaction? We want Bank of America to be the number one or company whenever the age demographic of 14 to 28. Whenever they want to find a bank to have bank loyalty with, we want to be first in mind. So that's why we tap into the fan affinity of those sports fans and just activate.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for being really clear about that and breaking it down to like kindergarten level, because sometimes if you don't know what an industry is, then you don't even know that it's a possibility.
Exactly. Yep, I'm still learning myself. I'm 8 months in. I'm still learning.
Will you talk a little bit about things you wish you would have known in high school that you know now as a young professional?
Oh, man. I wish I would have known about the college prep organizations, like Inroads. Well, Inroads is the main one I wish I would have known about, especially when I graduated with 3.8. So, I mean, obviously I had the merit in order to apply for the program. But that would have set me up with different internships, different networking opportunities, different public speaking workshops. Because one thing that I always had a problem with was public speaking. That was my Achilles heel in high school and undergrad. I mean, I completely hated being in front of the crowd. But, I mean, you work on it, you work at it. And now it's something that I would consider a strong suit for me. But I wish I would have had the college prep programs I would have known about the college prep programs when I was in high school. Also, I wish I would have taken my AP courses a little bit more seriously. Yeah, so, I mean, you go ahead, you take your AP classes. I did well, I got A's, but then the test came and it wasn't mandatory. So I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm trying to graduate. It's time to get up out of here. But little did I know, I mean, a lot of my struggles freshman year and my first semester and my second semester of freshman year would have been negated if I went ahead and just took those calculus or that geometry, tried to place out of it, transfer that credit, and then just kept it pushing, taking the easier class, and oh man, it was, yeah. So
sometimes
I wish I would have had those AP classes when I was. I took it more seriously when I was in high school.
Well, sometimes it can be a tad bit frustrating when you think back on some things you would have done, but you have made the decision to take the initiative to help other young people. Will you talk a little bit about the Talented 10 initiative and the legacy that you're building with young people in your area?
Excellent. So that's a great segue. So, yeah, great job. Good job, Angie. I see you. So the Talented 10th initiative is a concept that I converted from W.B. Du Bois, when he basically said that 1 in 10 African-American males will be the leaders for our generation through classical education rather than industrial, which Booker T thought industrial would be the way for us to make our name, for classical education, using our minds to change the world. So I kind of converted that concept to be more inclusive. So I bring in the top high school, college-bound males to their respective institution markets. So Columbia, Georgetown University. I'm doing UNCC next month. I'm also going to bring it back to Yale University, which is my hometown. And then we just hold a full day of workshops. So we do resume cover letter workshop, developing your personal brands, which is facilitated by me, but I bring in different mentors that I looked up to or that I know can influence the students in a positive manner, the same way that I was influenced. They're respected within their industries, whether it be technology, whether it be sports, whether it be fashion. I mean, it's different touch points for every student to be able to utilize. So, college application process and college prep programs, which is one of the I wish I would have known kind of things. Exactly. So this started as a class project at Georgetown, my leadership class, and it just evolved from there. Had Georgetown backing. Brought it to Columbia this year, which was about 2 weeks ago. Very successful event. I used my sponsorship know-how to enlist different organizations to enhance the experience for the students. So Men's Warehouse, they donate ties and suits for students that don't have it. Because mind you, for the most part, this is the underprivileged market. So, if they don't have suits and ties, we're getting them suits and ties. I have different supporters, and the Princeton Review, they donated books, SAT books, for the students to study from. So every student that attends the Talented 10th receives their own SAT book. So, that's just a different way that we can bridge the education gap and continue excellence within our culture.
I love this. This is so awesome. And in interviewing a lot of people, what I found is that a lot of athletes want to make a difference. Current and former athletes want to make a difference, but sometimes they may not necessarily know how. So why did you decide upon this initiative? You could have done anything for your leadership class. Why does this matter to you?
Right. So, coming from New Haven, Connecticut, it's the 7th most dangerous city in the nation. So, it was one of the situations where even though I had great grades, I wasn't afforded the resources to be successful as the people that went to Lawrenceville School or the people that went to Choate. So this was one of those I wish I would have known kind of situations, and I wanted to go ahead and equip the next generation of leaders with the skill sets and the opportunity to be on an equal playing field. You see everything going on right now, especially in Charlotte, and in our greater United States, of opportunity and the lack thereof for minorities. So this is just one of my small measures of trying to bridge the education gap and equip our young leaders with different tools that can make them an asset for an organization moving forward, thus making them the world-renowned leaders.
Now, as you know, being exposed to people in various industries can open young people's lives and show them what they can become. What's some of the feedback that you've heard from students?
Yeah, so this is the third year I've done it. The first 3 years was at Georgetown. 100% graduation rate thus far, 100% college placement rate thus far. So I'm waiting to see what what the Columbia class does, but I'm very hopeful, and I know that they're going to make a difference. But the kind of feedback that I've gotten back so far from the Georgetown was, we had one person that ended up going to Georgetown, one person that went to GW. We had 2 Gates Millennium Scholars that never knew about the scholarship before that. I helped them through the whole essay process. Every individual that attends, I send them my resume template. So now they all have resumes that for when they apply to college, as well as after as they continue to build their resume. I give them different insights and different nuggets on how to make it appealing to employers.
That is so awesome. The fact that the Gates Millennium Scholars didn't know that it even existed before.
Didn't know it existed, so I helped them through the whole essay process as well. Now they have their college paid for. I wish I would have known about the Gates Millennium Scholarship when I was younger.
Exactly.
But
exactly, that's a game changer.
It's a huge game changer, especially right now since I took the gamble on myself once again, and Georgetown was paid for, but I'm in debt from Columbia, but it's all worth it. But for these students that are getting these Coca-Cola scholarships and Gates Millennium Scholarships and enrolling into MLT and becoming an Inroads member and padding their resume so that they can get a job right after college, or even if they take a gap year, they can get into the grad school of their choice. So once again, it's a small measure right now, but it should pay dividends in their longevity.
Oh, it's not small. Please do not minimize the impact and the work that you're doing. You're literally changing these young people's lives, like you and your team and the other professionals. And that legacy, it may be 10 years from now before you really see the impact of that. So I think that kudos to you for making that happen.
I appreciate it.
Last thing before we go, you mentioned that you're going to have another Talented 10th initiative at UNC Charlotte. Has the date been set yet? And if so, how can people get involved?
No date has been set yet, but I'm aiming for November 19th. because I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So, that weekend is our Achievement Week, which is our Founders Week, November 17th. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it hand in hand with that, with the Qs at UNC Charlotte, and then no date, but it's not solidified yet. Reaching out to different mentors now. So if you're trying to become a mentor, please contact me. The most important part of this is the fundraising. So if you're able to even fundraise $20, if you're even able to donate $20, $5, every little bit goes a long way with equipping these students with an education. I mean, I'm in debt, but I'm not even taking $1 out of this, Everything, all of this is my volunteer. My resource is my best quality, which is my time. So if you can donate, that's great. If you can come, attend, that's great as well. If you can, if you have any organizations that might want to sponsor with any other in-kind donations, that's great as well. But you can contact me. Angie will have my contact information, so she can just go ahead and give it to you if you're interested.
I'll make sure that your contact info is in the show notes, and people can reach out to you from there.
Sounds great.
The last thing I want to make a note of, that same week that you mentioned is Global Entrepreneurship Week. And so I remember you saying that you had part of your background is entrepreneurship. And so maybe there's a way to integrate entrepreneurship, Talented 10th Initiative. Just throwing that out there for you.
Thanks for that nugget. We're gonna make it happen then.
Great. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best and look forward to working with you in the future and supporting the Talented 10th Initiative.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Angie, for allowing me to showcase my
Athletes as Educators.
Thank you for listening to the Athletes as Educators podcast. Connect with me through the Athletes as Educators Facebook page or at Athletes Educate on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. For more resources and information about today's podcast, you can check us out at AngelaRLewis.com.